And there we go. We're live. Welcome, Facebook viewers. We're here, me and Merryn, not Anne. You there, Merryn?
I am, and it's lovely to be back, even though I always miss Anne.
Well, Anne had to take a break, and we understand. And how have you been, Merryn?
Not too bad. I think spring might be here. We had some snow yesterday in New York, but it did not stick.
Yeah, that's true. It was upstate. Oh God, they got a lot upstate and in New England. Feet of snow. They got feet of snow.
Yeah, it didn't stick in Manhattan is what I meant to say.
It's going to be 60 degrees here on Friday for the St. Patrick's Day parade, which I will be marching in on Fifth Avenue with lavender and green.
Lavender and green should never be seen without a color in between. No, just kidding. You know, I've got a little bit of Irish in me, Andy. I had a genetics test.
If you want to join us, everybody needs a walk. We fought for 25 years to get into the thing, so I figure we ought to march.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's going up to 57 tomorrow and 60 on Friday. Now what's the stock market going down to? That's the question.
Golly, it's a bumpy ride these days. Always something.
It's always something.
If it's not a war, it's banks collapsing. Goodness.
Easy for a homeowner to get a price. Very easy.
Oh, the Dow is off its lows.
Oh, good.
But it's I don't know. What a country.
Hmm.
Have a good show.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. I always think about Betty Davis and all about Eve. She says something like, buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
And that's the motto of this country.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Fasten your seatbelts. We're in for a bumpy night.
Bumpy all over the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Humm.
And I'm Merryn Johns.
Welcome, Merryn Johns. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
And it's nice to see us smiling, even though we have a lot of bad news. We're going to tell you about some good things that are happening in the world too. Starting with the fact that RuPaul and other prominent drag queens are responding to the assault on their right to perform. And President Biden spoke up for them too. And the Attorney General of New York is going to host a Drag Time Story Hour.
Exactly. And Florida's Governor DeSantis, we think, has lost his mind, and he's out of control in his assault on our rights and diversity in general. But he has competition this week from Wisconsin, Texas, Arkansas, Ohio, and a Michigan prosecutor.
But the anti-LGBTQ Republican Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee, who you've probably heard a lot about, was exposed for his love of risque gay male posts on Instagram.
That social media, you got to watch it. Speaking of Republicans, we have Mike Pence trying to make a very lame and homophobic joke at the expense of Pete and Chasten Buttigieg and their children.
But Michigan is the 22nd state to protect civil rights on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity.
And it's another week in another George Santos bizarro crime. I think he's doing it now just to keep me entertained.
Now, the New York City comptroller is now threatening the government funding for Yeshiva University over its refusal to recognize the LGBTQ student group there. Very bold move.
And the brilliant creator who was gay of Olivia, the rambunctious little piglet that was such a hit with children's books, he has died.
Catholic Church in Germany, this is good news. The Catholic Church in Germany voted to bless gay couples and give greater recognition to gender nonconforming people.
And India's right-wing government, unfortunately, has opposed marriage equality at the country's Supreme Court.
And those cases are being heard right now. And we will have all the LGBTQ angles on the Academy Awards show. But, you know, I did want to start with a good story. And that's RuPaul speaking out about all these anti-drag bills that are popping up around the country. Ru calls them a classic distraction technique by bullies who are incompetent at solving real issues. They think our love, our light, our laughter, and our joy are signs of weakness, but that is our strength. Drag queens are the Marines of the queer movement. Register to vote, Ru said, so we can get these stunt queens out of office. And by the way, a social media post has never been as powerful as a registered vote.
That's right. Do register to vote. I find it so fascinating that drag queens are the scapegoat du jour. In some ways, I feel it's such a lame target that this is indicative of what bad shape the Republicans are in. I think we'll win this one as long as we all band together and do something.
I think we'll win it in the long run. On the other hand, the polling has been sort of going against us on this because they make so much of this on Fox News. By the way, Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation put together a bunch of RuPaul's Drag Race queens to give out messages of determination. And we're going to link to that video in our email. So if you go to gayusatv.org, sign up for our email, we will send that link to you. And I think it's important to reflect on the FBI statistics at this point about hate crimes. You know, because they came out this week, and this is what this is all precipitating. Reported hate crimes, now they are looking at from 2020 to 2021, up 12% nationally.
That's a big jump. That's a jump. And up 15.9% of individuals are targeted for their sexual orientation, according to the FBI.
Yeah, 64% were prompted by prejudice based on race and ethnicity. And, you know, yes, you said 16% were sexual orientation, although we only make up maybe, 7% of the population? And 14% were motivated by hate of a particular religion. Now, there's something called the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism, and they found in a study of 20 U.S. cities that bias attacks hit record levels. 21% of incidents that they saw were versus Black people, who were about 11% of the population. Jews, who were just 2% of the population, were subject to 16% of these attacks. And gay men, I don't know why they didn't mention lesbians, 12%. And then there were the regular murders, of course, of trans women that we report on here every week.
Are we going to mention Letitia James and what she's doing to take a stand for us? I found this really endearing. New York State,
she's the Attorney General of the state of New York.
That's right.
So go ahead.
Well, I just think it's really a strong stand that our Attorney General has inviting drag storytellers and city and state elected leaders for a drag story hour readathon. It's going to have 4 one-hour-long sessions, and families with children are most welcome. And you can attend one, you can attend all of them. But I feel that this coming from our top law officer is really, it does make us feel a little more confident in which side to be on here, the side of openness and democracy and inclusions. What's a good link, Andy, for us to for people to want to actually look at this?
I will put the full invitation link in our email. That was a picture of our Attorney General. Maybe put it back up, Rich, at a Pride March there with a drag queen. So not afraid to take a strong stand, not going to run away from this, standing with us as she takes on Donald Trump and other malefactors in society.
This event's going to be on at the LGBT Center at 208 West 13th Street near 7th Avenue. Now, what day is this on? I know it's from 11 in the morning till 3 p.m. Sunday. This Sunday. And I know that Eric Botcher, our friend, the West Village Council member, is integral to this event. So I thank him for his involvement. Pretty terrific.
Now, fading back to some national news, in the U.S. State Department and First Lady Dr. Joe Biden with Secretary Blinken, they hosted the 17th Annual International Women of Courage Awards. They gave awards to 11 global women leaders, and among the honorees, we have a picture, was Alba Rueda, a trans activist from Argentina, who was kicked out of classrooms, barred from sitting for exams, refused jobs, subjected to violence, rejected by her family, but became a leader in the campaign to end violence and discrimination against LGBTQ people in Argentina. Now, when this happened at a women's event, right-wing heads, Tucker Carlson, all those horrible people exploded, but dripping with derision. But, walk a mile in her shoes and think about what she's gone through to survive. And then,
absolutely,
scum like Arkansas Governor Sarah Sanders tweeted that it's International Women's Day and Democrats can't even tell what a woman is. And this is the kind of stuff that comes from them.
Well, yes, exactly. This event honored a group of 11 extraordinary women. And I think the point of inclusivity was lost on the critics of the event here.
Yeah. I mean, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, on the other hand, said, with a disturbing rise in anti-transgender hate here in Canada and around the world recently, I want to be clear, trans women are women. We will always stand up to this hate wherever and whenever it occurs. Now, Rueda is the first out trans politician in Argentina to hold a senior post in government. She was named the Undersecretary of Diversity Policies with the Ministry of Gender and Diversity in January 2020. These are the kinds of offices, of course, that Ron DeSantis is banning in Florida, and that will never exist in a Republican administration.
Yes.
All right. You remember how the anti-abortion forces said that they were never going to go after women? We just want to punish the doctors. We want to stop abortion, right? This kind of stuff. Well, that's all over. A woman in Texas, everybody heard about this week, used an abortion pill. Her ex-husband is suing the women who facilitated that and trying to, and bringing a massive lawsuit against them. And in South Carolina, they've even got a bill to make abortion murder and the women to be prosecuted as murderers. That bill is in there now in South Carolina. All these years, they would say, oh, no, we don't want to punish the women. We feel for the women. But this is what's happening in this country today.
Absolutely. I don't think people have thought ahead how this can be used as a form of spousal abuse as well, and a kind of extension of domestic violence. And especially if in Florida, they extend the from 15 weeks to 6 weeks. Some women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. So this is very dangerous territory.
Right. Well, before we get to all the horrible state news, part of what's going on in the states, let's talk about our friend, Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee, the aptly named Randy McNally. There he is. And you might as well switch to the picture that he loves so well. This is a picture that on the internet. He has been following this guy who shows off his assets. This is not an explicit picture, but it's a rear end shot, and good looking guy, Franklin McClure, and apparently has been cultivating a relationship of some sort with this guy, talking to him about getting jobs, all those kinds of things. And of course, Lieutenant Governor McNally, 79 years old, is has voted anti-gay bills. Sometimes he doesn't actually. He once urged the legislature to be sensitive to the rights of individuals. Of course, they were not. He says he has gay friends. Well, why would you want to be his friend if he's voting against you? Anyway, this guy McClure, the model in this case, or the young gay guy, 20 years old, he said, I hope he can extend that kindness toward me to make sure no bills are passed that would hurt anyone like me. Too late, Franklin. They've already done it in Tennessee. So anyway.
I mean, honestly, if you're if you're a Republican politician and your name is Randy, I'd really think twice about standing a young gay man and putting flame emojis near his butt. I think it's sending mixed messages to your electorate, don't you think?
Well, I mean, he's had to pull back from social media. He tried to defend himself for a while, but they made a big deal about it on Saturday Night Live, right? You watched this skit, yes?
It was funny, yeah.
This is Molly Kearney, the non-binary member of Saturday Night Live, who was playing the lieutenant governor there with Colin Jost there on the show. So it's become, I mean, this guy acts like he's a big innocent, but he just, he looks at these cute guys. And this is not the only ones. He also liked some trans women and other things like that. And yet he does the opposite in his public life. Shame. Okay. All right. I guess we should get to our friend Ron DeSantis. Not our friend. He's basically out on the campaign trail now in Iowa, and of course, he's real tough on drag queens, but he's soft on Putin, and that's getting him into some trouble. I'm enjoying that. But he's expected to officially announce for president in May. Trump is all over him, trying to stop him, and he's not handling himself well on the campaign trail. But he's doing crazy things. He has budgeted. Oh, first of all, he's at an event in Iowa, and this woman hands him a snowflake artwork, and he holds it up smiling. Well, it says, if you look closely there, it says fascist all over it.
That was the first thing I saw. The first thing I saw was that word. The second thing I saw was a snowflake. So what does that say about him?
It's a Rorschach test. Does he not know that he's a fascist? Maybe he's happy that he's a fascist. But he's doing things like he just budgeted $98 million for Florida's own military, not the National Guard, its own military, a private army. So be very afraid of that. And by the way, he blamed he's one of these guys blaming the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank on wokeness. The fact that they embrace diversity programs and things like that.
That's right, criticizing woke capitalism. The other thing he did was revoke the liquor license of the Hyatt Regency in Miami. Did you see that?
Go on. This is completely, to go after the hospitality industry in Florida is insane.
I love Florida. I love all my friends in Florida, but the reason I go there is to enjoy often its tourism sector and its businesses. And I can't imagine what he's thinking when he's striking at the one of the pillars of the state's economy, just because this hotel had a drag queen Christmas. Where I'm sure the organizers thought that if minors were accompanied by an adult, it would be okay. But apparently there was liquor, alcohol was available via the concession there, which has got them in trouble now. But wow, Andy, I think that's going to come to bite him on the butt.
Well, the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations alleged that the show, which is a show that toured 36 cities, violated a provision on lascivious exhibition before people under 16. They said no, wait, I don't get this. They said the performers wore suggestive clothing and prosthetic female genitalia. What is prosthetic female genitalia? What is that?
I honestly think that they've got it wrong. I think they're thinking about the fake breasts, those vinyl
genitalia.
Exactly. They should have said female body parts, something else. But again, that's just everyone in performance wears some kind of prosthetics of some kind very often. I mean, I find clown makeup to be highly distressing. Who do I sue?
Yes. And they also accuse them of simulating masturbation. The business has 21 days to respond. Why not take away all the liquor licenses and make Florida a dry state? So then you could protect minors and you could protect drivers and everything if you want to keep everybody safe and all that. Equality Florida asks this question: will he raid movie theaters if parents take their teens to an R-rated movie? The drag show was advertised for being for over 18s unless accompanied by a parent. And then, of course, again, let's stay in Florida. They've got a new bill that bans diverse. Now, they banned all these programs in the public schools, right? They want to extend it to higher education. Banning diversity and equity programs in higher education may even ban Black fraternities. It could affect them, and sororities. It bans having a major in women's studies or gender studies. I mean, this is, out of the Putin, his best friend, playbook, basically, and also Orban in Hungary. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we know how bad he is. He thinks he's going to get elected president this way. I mean, some of these issues resonate with people, but I think it's getting to be too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Speaking of fascists, in Wadsworth, Ohio, neo-Nazis descended on a drag queen story hour in a park. There was a clash with counter-protesters, including the Parasol Patrol that uses rainbow umbrellas to shield the children from the bigots. Many of the bigots came from out of state. A Black journalist there was subjected to racial slurs. A local Republican organized the 90-person protest. Now the city council is looking to ban drag events with minors present. But this event, the Rock and Roll Humanist Drag Story Hour, did take place, and the drag performer River Rose read to just 15 kids. Such a threat to society. All right, where are we going to go next?
Oh, wow. I feel like we're jumping around. I think it might have to do with our picture order, don't you think?
Well, where are we? Let's finish up the states before we get to the next things in our picture order. Because look, Texas, the Republicans have introduced a bill that encourages bounty hunters to target drag queens and transgender people. It allows anyone to sue people who perform in drag and host a drag event where children are present, and you get $5,000 in damages. And drag is defined as a performance in which a performer exhibits a gender that is different from the performer's recorded gender of birth. This can't be constitutional.
Again, I'm bringing up the issue of clowns. I mean, what gender is a clown? I mean, this is ridiculous when you think about it. What does it do to carnival? What does it do to carnival? What does it do to any kind of public parade where you dress up? What does it do to Halloween? What does it do to Mardi Gras? What does it do to any public event where there's alcohol, where there's children, and you dress as something other than yourself?
I may be speaking too soon, but I haven't noticed these popping up in Louisiana, where Mardi Gras is half the economy.
Exactly.
Right.
Listen,
and where there's a lot of dressing up. And but what about the Halloween parade and all of that, or just Halloween in general? I went as a lady witch once when I was about 12 years old. I didn't know her. I dressed up like that. I have a picture of it somewhere. So what?
It's scary because it's also killing all forms of performance, cabaret, satire, anything.
Yes.
Where you're trying to represent the thing that you're not. I think it is very dangerous territory to be getting in, and I'd say economically damaging. And of course, you're going to send all these people like me who love performance art. We're just going to go somewhere else for it. So all that money goes out of the country.
I will say that Florida LGBTQ activists and allies spent 2 days in Tallahassee this week protesting their demonization, and Governor DeSantis lobbying against a slew of those bills. And then, but President Biden spoke up for us this week. Talk about that.
Now, which one?
Penn, when he was with.
Oh yes, I'm just zooming through my text here. Yes, this was really lovely. I think the whole discussion was brought up by giving advice to Cal Penn whether he wanted to marry his longtime fiance or not, and Biden said, "Do it now, don't wait." And this all came about because Joe Biden was interviewed by Penn, who is an Indian American actor. You might know him for his role in the movies Harold and Kumar. But this interview took place on The Daily Show, and that aired on Monday. And Penn did come out in 2021 revealing that he was engaged to his partner of 11 years. His partner's name is Josh, and he said he fell in love with him during the Obama administration. So this came up because, of course, we know that Biden codified same-sex marriage to protect it. But Joe told his story, which, Andy, I know you've told us this story before, but he told us the story on air this time about how his father explained to him what two gay men were to each other. And this was the first time Biden saw it.
This is when Joey was a boy.
When he was a boy, he said, I'll never...
They went to a train station, and I guess he was dropping off his father or something, and he sees two men kissing, and he turns to his father and goes, like, whoa, what's that? So...
Yeah, what's that? And his dad said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's just that simple.
It's a story he's told many times, and it's a lovely story. And I'm glad that it has stuck with him all these years. He also said during this interview that the anti-trans legislation in Florida and elsewhere is close to sinful, just cruel. He said it's not like a kid wakes up one morning and says, this is Joe Biden saying this, President of the United States, I decided to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change. They're human beings. They love, they have feelings. So how did DeSantis respond to that? He retweeted something from libs of TikTok saying, we're not in favor of mutilating children. I mean, it is the most extreme stuff that this guy is embracing.
Yes, you don't go to the Republicans for nuance, do you?
No. Well, the Republicans in Wisconsin are basically reallowing conversion therapy. A state agency got rid of it, and then the state legislature stepped in and are passing things to say, no, it's okay. If you want to change gay people, it's okay. They're not actually passing a bill about it, because then Governor Tony Evers, who's a Democrat, would veto it. So they're trying to do it sort of behind the scenes. And then, again, breathtaking, Governor Sanders of Arkansas. She signed a bill to make it easier to sue providers of gender-affirming care for children. Here's what this bill says. It lets someone who received gender-affirming care when they were young to sue the doctor for malpractice up to 15 years after they turn 18, almost as if they were sexually abused or something. And it would make it's going to make it impossible for providers of this kind of care to get insurance in Arkansas. Look, I have a niece there who's nearing retirement age, but herself, but she's leaving. She can't take it anymore. I mean, it's just, she's a teacher. What they've done to teachers, destroyed the union, what they've done to LGBTQ people, what they've done on abortion. Arkansas, which had Bill Clinton as their governor at one time, and Joycelyn Elders as their health commissioner, is slipping back into the swamp in the past. A lot of nice people in Little Rock, I can tell you that for a fact. My own sister lives there, and many of my relatives. They're good people, and they're progressive people. But the majority of the state, forget it. All right. We better turn to some good news. Let's talk about Michigan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michigan, Michigan's quite interesting. I always have to remind myself that wonderful things come out of the so-called Midwest. Don't you think, Andy?
Yep.
It's really easy to forget that some of the most progressive laws have come. So even Iowa. I'm scrolling to find my Michigan piece. Where is it? Here we are. Michigan is now the 22nd state to protect civil rights on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. The Michigan House of Representatives has passed the landmark legislation, adding protections for LGBTQ plus Michiganders to the state civil rights law. It is House Bill 4003 and its companion, Senate Bill 4. They're expanding the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act as a response to overwhelming public support for protections for all citizens of the state to live freely as their full, authentic selves. Bravo, Michigan.
That's great. And of course, Governor Whitmer will sign that. A bunch of Republican amendments failed there. So, that's a big deal. By the way, the first state to pass a statewide gay rights law, 1985, before New York City did it, Wisconsin.
Exactly.
Wisconsin, right there, up there in the Midwest as well.
Right.
But on the bad side of Michigan, a right-wing prosecutor is looking to bring criminal charges against employees of the Lapeer District Library if an LGBTQ-themed graphic novel is not removed from the shelves. This county prosecutor, John Miller, says illustrations in the book Gender Queer, a Memoir by Maya Kobabe, could rise to the level of accosting, enticing, or soliciting a child for immoral purposes, a felony, 4 years in prison. Now, Amy Churchill, who's the director of the library, said she's undeterred. The library is also receiving threats of violence. Why isn't the prosecutor investigating the threats of violence?
Yeah.
And she says, look, we stocked The Joy of Gay Sex, which has heterosexual illustrations. Nobody is complaining.
Right.
Other states are considering bills to make it a crime to stock books they think are objectionable. Georgia, Indiana, Texas, and Wyoming. All right, let's go to Mike Pence.
Mike Pence trying to be funny, not a good idea. This event was
it's the Gridiron Dinner, which
it's the Gridiron Dinner
behind closed doors, it's sort of off the record. There's no film,
right?
It
sounded like a bit of a roast, like he
elites. Okay, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. He basically made a joke about the Secretary of Transport. I want to, and it's really quite depressing what he thought was a funny punchline, but I'll read you the joke. He said, when Pete's 2 children were born, he took 2 months maternity leave, whereupon thousands of travelers were stranded in airports, the air traffic system shut down, airplanes nearly collided midair. I mean, Pete Buttigieg is the only person in human history to have a child, and all the rest of us get postpartum depression. I mean, talk about a joke in bad taste.
Yes. So, the Buttigieg's adopted twins had very serious medical issues in 2021, and Pete did take that leave. Chasten, his husband, tweeted to Pence, if your grandchild was born prematurely and placed on a ventilator at 2 months old, their tiny fingers wrapped around yours as the monitors beep in the background, where would you be? Now, the out-Biden press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, called Pence's homophobic joke offensive and inappropriate, all the more so because he treated women suffering from postpartum depression as a punchline.
Exactly.
And she called on him to apologize to women and to our community. I am not holding my breath.
Yeah, let's not forget the trains colliding and derailing have very little to do with Mr. Buttigieg and a lot to do with Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Now, we are fighting back, and there's a wonderful group called Rise and Resist in New York, at least, that goes to, protest so many injustices. They have such vigor, and they constantly protest at Fox News. And they showed up to picket Fox News, as they regularly do, this time highlighting for Fox the hypocrisy of the Fox hosts, which you've read a lot about, revealing that Tucker and Laura really hate Trump and never believed his election lies. And they were covered there by The Circus on HBO. So you're going to be able to see them. These are pictures, by the way, from Jackie Rudin.
Hi, Jackie. Wonderful job. These are great pictures. Thank you for sending them in.
So if you tune into The Circus on Sunday at 8 p.m. on HBO, that was Mark McKinnon in the first picture there interviewing them. And you'll be able to see them. They provide the visuals for these, and that's why it's so important to protest sometimes, because it gives newspapers and television shows a chance to take a picture and, and all that. Okay. All right. And we got to worry about two bills in the U.S. House under Republicans that are advancing anti-LGBTQ bills. One is the parental rights bill that would require all curricula to be publicly available, a list of all library books as well, to allow parents to review all classroom materials. I mean, they really just want to destroy public education. And then the other one is the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which would amend Title IX to ban trans, intersex, and many non-binary students from school sports. Now, these would die in the Senate right now if they were passed, but there they are. Okay, what's the latest on George Santos?
Well, I can't wait to talk about him, and I can't wait to talk about our friend Matt Schlapp. But let's find Santos. He has filed paperwork, I believe, that means he's not going away.
That's so he can raise money. Who would give him money? Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC said, the first person who gives him money, you can come on the show. Let's talk about it. Well,
yes, he's basically filed paperwork. You'll like to hear this on Tuesday with the Federal Election Commission, so that he can run for re-election in New York's 3rd Congressional District next year.
Only 80% of his constituents are against him right now.
Right.
But anyway, he's also caught in a credit card scam from 2017, a skimming operation in Seattle and Florida. And one guy, Gustavo Ribeiro Trelha, was convicted of fraud and deported to Brazil. And in a sworn affidavit, he told the FBI that Santos was the ringleader. Trelha says that Santos taught him how to skim card info and clone cards and how to put skimming devices on ATM machines. He says Santos also conned him out of his bail money.
I mean, that's pretty serious. It makes the $19 million luxury yacht that he brokered a deal over. That makes it look really, innocent. Did you hear about that one?
Yes. Why is it taking so long to get him out of Congress?
I don't know.
Right.
I think, yeah.
All right. A little heads up here. There was a study from Business Insider on being non-binary and applying for a job. If you send out actually this could apply to anybody. If you send out a resume with a gender-neutral name, this is what they did. The name was Taylor Williams, and half of them included they/them pronouns, and the other ones didn't include pronouns. Well, you've got a less of a chance of getting an interview and a job. Not a whole lot less, 8% less interest. 64% of employers, however, say that they're equal opportunity employers. So this suggests that they're not living up to their standards.
Yeah, well, they need to. They need to.
You, what do you think about the referendum at Wellesley College? Now, Wellesley College is a women's college historically. They do. If a woman transitions to become a man, they can stay as a student as a trans man, or if they're non-binary. But now there are students who want to admit trans men from the get-go, basically as a sexual minority who, like women, have been women aren't a minority, but who have been discriminated against. And the students voted on a referendum, non-binding, to say, yeah, we would like to have trans men, but the president of the college says no.
Yes, because the president, Paula Johnson, says effectively that would rewrite Wellesley's founding mission, which is to educate women and to provide a safe space for women. But, here's the thing. Things do change. And this is a very difficult discussion to have, single sex anything versus co-ed, especially since we're now actually redefining what sex and gender are, in group settings, especially. So I would be encouraged by the student vote myself. I feel that an institution is only valuable anymore if it serves its student body. So if I was Dr. Johnson, I'd have to go with the students on this one.
Right. I mean, look, if you read the comments on this story of the Times, especially from alums of Wellesley, They're not happy about if it were to change. They wouldn't be happy about it. I mean, Times a fairly liberal newspaper, but this is a place where people wanted to draw the line and say we should be able to have these separate things. But it's something people need to think about. And I like the way the students sort of phrased it. That they care about marginalized genders, and women have been a marginalized gender. There you go. Okay. All right. Now we can talk about CPAC. Oh, okay. You got to wait for a second. I should talk. Okay. All right. You got a little construction going on there in the background. All right. Conservative Political Action Committee, the man who accused the CPAC chief Matt Schlapp of sexual harassment, has come forward. His name is Carlton Huffman. We have a picture of him, 39 years old. He's a longtime political aide and an aide to Herschel Walker at the time, and was told by a judge that he couldn't sue Schlapp without being public. I think that's fair. Schlapp denies the charge and just presided over an anti-LGBTQ hate fest at CPAC starring Trump and other Republican miscreants. Huffman is seeking $9.4 million in damages for sexual battery, defamation. Huffman's white supremacist past has come to light. Not that it would be out of place at CPAC. He called it an ugly chapter of his life, and he's ashamed of it. But he lost his job at the North Carolina Assembly in January over it. He recorded an anguished 7-minute video right after the alleged assault, which sounded pretty convincing, and he shared it with his ex-wife and a college friend. So the suit has some hope. All right.
Yeah, I mean, sorry if you can hear any noise in the background. I apologize, but it struck me very, very much when I read his account of the actual assault and the powerlessness he must have felt, because let's remember, he was actually in a position to serve Schlapp, drive him around. He had no power in this context. So to be harassed by this drunk man and to be touched, and as he says, he touched my junk, as a woman who's often shared a drive home in a car with a man, this is not a great position to be in. So I feel for him.
I guess we better move along. We do want to report, we told you about this right-wing Catholic group spending millions of dollars to expose gay priests. And they've spent $4 million, and they've only bagged one priest who happened to be a big one, a Monsignor, Jeffrey Burrell, in 2021, who was a top administrator at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. But this is what they're spending $4 million on in the Catholic Church when people are starving and all that stuff. Right. It's not exactly Christian charity.
No.
All right. Let's talk about some people we lost. Let's talk about Pat Schroeder, a wonderful feminist member of Congress, first elected back in 1972, served for 24 years. When she came into Congress, she was only one of 14 women in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, she said they didn't even have a bathroom for women at that point. It was a struggle to even find somewhere to pee, she said.
Yeah, and I do want to look. I mean, she wasn't an LGBTQ person. She was totally supportive of our rights. She was one of the 20% of the members of the House and Senate who voted against the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996 and stood with us on that. Pat Schroeder from Colorado was a trailblazer for sure. And then let's talk about Ian Falconer.
Ian Falconer, who was a very talented artist, as you can see. His illustrations here really was something special. He was a stage designer noted mostly for his work in opera, but he hit the bestseller list in 2000 with his first in a series of books for children, starring this character, Olivia, the rambunctious piglet, and it became a publishing sensation. He died in Norwalk, Connecticut, only 63 years of age. And another interesting point for us as gay culture vultures is that he was involved with, was it David Hockney for a period of time, Andy?
Well, yes, he worked with David Hockney on opera sets, and they were romantically involved for a time as well, yes. And the books were very hip, contained lots of sophisticated arts references from Jackson Pollock to Callis to Martha Graham. He died of kidney failure.
He did. And listen, he did this book for his niece, I believed. And it makes you wonder if this book's now going to get banned from public libraries.
Well, LGBTQ history is everywhere. In New York, Governor Hochul has nominated this building called Todd Union at the University of Rochester. We have a picture of it, to the state and national registries of historic places. It's the site of the first meetings of the Gay Liberation Front there, and where the gay newspaper Empty Closet was created, a space that bridged the gap between students and community members and helped establish a thriving LGBTQ community upstate. All right, let's go back to New York. You got some noise there. I'll keep talking. We told you how Yeshiva University, established as an independent educational institution, not a religious one, won't recognize the Yeshiva University Pride Alliance. They've been losing in court, the university. They've been told you got to recognize them. They're trying to go to the Supreme Court. But in the meantime, the comptroller of the city of New York, a good liberal, Brad Lander, wrote to them and said, you've gotten $8.8 million in city contracts since 2010, and you certified in the contracts that you'd comply with city and state human rights laws, and that you won't discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So the university says it has a Torah-based LGBTQ club. What's that? A group for people who hate themselves? I don't know. Anyway, you're going to cite the Torah? The Torah penalty for homosexuality is death. I hope you're not for that. And I mean that. That's what it says in Torah, So let's get over that and let's comply with the law if you want city and state funds and you want to continue to receive them. So good on, politicians almost never stand up to these religious groups. So that's good. Okay. Tampa? Can you speak? Or?
Yes, congratulations to Tampa Mayor Jane Castor. She's been re-elected. I believe she won 80% of the vote, which is pretty incredible. She's extremely popular. She's quite progressive. I know she wants to put Tampa on the map and she wants to develop the city, especially the downtown area. But she won easily, age 64. It's always nice to see, by the way, an older gay woman valued by her community.
And, she stood up to DeSantis. She's in Florida there in Tampa. Last summer, she said she would not arrest women who have abortions. DeSantis has suspended a district attorney there who defied him on this. All right, and now I'll follow up on those drugging murders of gay men and others in New York. It took enormous pressure to get the New York Police Department and the coroner to classify them as the homicides that they were. Linda Clary, the mother of Umberger, knew her son did not take his own life with an overdose. The police brushed her off for months, and we have another one. We have a surviving victim of these assaults, Tyler Burt, 27. He survived, and he had $15,000 stolen from him after he was drugged. He could have died, but he didn't. He found the police unresponsive and reluctant to review surveillance footage. He was scolded for speaking to the press, and another 51-year-old victim also had trouble with the police as well. So, come on, police department. They just want to write these things off as drug deaths and not deal with what happened to these men. We better run through the news. We've got to talk about Germany. The Catholic Assembly there voted to approve blessings for same-sex couples. 92.6% of the Catholic Assembly voted yes, and that includes 80% of participating bishops. And this document objects directly to the Vatican ban on such blessings. And they also voted for greater recognition of transgender, intersex, non-binary, and gender diverse people. This is a real breakthrough for the German church. It's not same-sex marriage. And they also urged Pope Francis to end celibacy for his all-male priesthood, not mentioning that half of them are gay. Francis has said homosexuality should not be a crime, but he has not changed the official teaching of the church. Now, Francis is organizing a synod of bishops in October to discuss some of these issues, but I hope he doesn't clamp down on Germany. I hope he goes with it.
Yes, but not so good news out of Hungary. Hungary's justice minister said on Wednesday that Budapest would fight in the Court of Justice of the EU to defend an education law that Brussels says discriminates against people on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity.
Right. And in India, the Supreme Court is hearing arguments, oral arguments about legalizing same-sex marriage. But the right-wing Modi government has filed briefs opposing marriage equality, saying marriage is for heterosexuals only, and the court cannot change the entire legislative policy of the country deeply embedded in religious and societal norms. In 2018, the court did decriminalize homosexual sex. I want to tell you about something I'm going to include in our email. I want to share a radio documentary on my friend and comrade, Reverend Bernard Lynch, about his groundbreaking work in AIDS ministry from the inception of the pandemic in 1981, about being an out gay priest and the price he paid for that. It was produced by Clare FM, which is the county there, and I will be providing the link in our email. It's entitled Falsely Accused, which he was. Maybe we'll skip over the lesbian project. Yes? Yeah, okay. Let's skip that. New Zealand, a Christian school said it would close down rather than give up its conversion therapy program, which is now illegal in New Zealand. The school says we won't be able to help students overcome their homosexual feelings. It's horrendous. But the New Zealand education minister says all schools are obligated to support rainbow kids and makes no apology for upholding the law. And in Italy, the right-wing government of Giorgia Meloni is limiting recognition of parental rights to biological parent in a same-sex relationship, a move that will impact hundreds of families. They told Milan to stop recognizing both parents. This government is the maximum expression of homophobia, said the lesbian leader, Alessia Crocini, president of Rainbow Families. All right.
What about that porn star story in Italy?
The what?
The gay porn star, Ruggero Freddy.
Go ahead. I actually don't. This is a guy who his name is. We have his name here. Ruggero Freddy. He had a job at a university, and when they found they had a porn past, they fired him. So he's taken them to court and is working on getting his job back there in Catholic Italy. Let's talk about the Oscars, shall we?
Yes. I have a bit of noise in the background,
All
so
right.
you tell me if you can hear me. But it was very, very heartening to see the Daniels. I believe it was actually Daniel Scheinert make a stand for us when he was accepting his award. He said, "This one is dedicated to the mommies of the world, to our moms, specifically my mom and dad. Thank you for not squashing my creativity when I was making really disturbing horror films or really perverted comedy films or dressing in drag as a kid, which is a threat to nobody." And the audience cheered.
A threat to nobody.
Yeah.
And, it was actually a pretty great story. First of all, we should say about the Oscars, this is the first time any film, we're talking about everything, everywhere, all at once, and it has a central gay theme,
Yes.
has received so many above-the-line Oscars. It won Best Picture, 3 acting awards, director, editing, original screenplay, and it had that strong lesbian daughter subplot played by Stephanie Hsu.
Yes.
Now, on the male side, and this is from the same studio, A24, Brendan Fraser won the Best Actor for playing an obese gay man. There he is. It was quite a moving speech, and it's quite a comeback for Brendan. I have to say, I would have appreciated it, and he did give a shout out to Samuel D. Hunter, the out gay playwright who was there with him. I didn't mention that he was gay, but I mean, he might have he was playing a gay man. He might have said something about that. He was also playing someone who was morbidly obese. Might have said something about that, But I mean, look, they're supposed to only have 45 seconds, but when you win the big ones, they let you go on a little longer, And then, you mentioned Daniel, and then and Jamie Lee Curtis was terrific, right? She talked about her trans daughter after getting her award for Best Supporting Actress. She's 64 years old. and she also addressed the idea of non-gendered acting categories at the Oscars, and she said that not sure that's going to be a good idea because for what it would do to women. Yes, no.
I agree. Well, it's nuanced for me anyway. It's a bigger discussion.
Some of them have gone to it already. Some of the award show. The in memoriam section was very heavy on behind the scenes people, and it excluded the out by actor Anne Heche, who died this past year, and Leslie Jordan, Leslie didn't have as much of a movie career. He was more of a TV guy, but
yeah.
more famous for the small screen. And again, this A24 studio, they're the ones who did Moonlight, which won Best Picture a couple of years ago, and which was gay themed, and they walked out with 6 top awards. So that was, they got 9 in all. And then I mean, I don't generally enjoy the song performances, and the songs usually aren't that great. But this number from this Indian film, RRR, right, was really, I mean, it was I thought the hit of the show, and of course it won Best Song. It's from a massive hit in India. It's hitting Netflix in late May. Fans are calling this action hero bromance a queer fantasy and a heartwarming gay story full of hot guys, even though it's not explicitly gay. It's about 2 Indian men who are revolutionaries fighting British colonials. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one when it comes to Netflix. And I really enjoyed the musical number, and I'm glad it won Best Song. And then we have our friend David Geffen. Can you speak?
Lucky Donovan Michaels has married 80-year-old billionaire, and Donovan is 30. Not that there's anything wrong with that age difference.
No, nothing wrong with that.
They look so happy. They look gorgeous together, don't they?
Yes, they do. I mean, good for him marrying at 80.
Yeah.
And making a commitment. They married in Beverly Hills, very private ceremony, shrouded in secrecy. This guy Michaels is a top model.
Oh, you can tell.
So what a week it's been. I am wrung out from just reading all this news and thinking about it and trying to process it. It's coming at us. So, I mean, we are getting some support from the mainstream media on these things. They're picking up on what a lowlife Ron DeSantis is. Again, not caring about the people of Ukraine, but wanting to smash drag queens. That is becoming a theme here. He's just he relishes being a monster, and I hope that this turns off enough people that someone like this cannot be president of the United States of America in 2024. And he may not make it that far. They're already saying maybe he's hurt his chances by what he said about Ukraine, being so awful about that. So we certainly hope so. Anyway, we're coming down to our last couple of. We have 2.5 minutes to go. So you and I have to run.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's been a really busy couple of weeks, I think, on Gay USA. Lots and lots of stories. And I think you've done well keeping up with them all. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, Anne likes us to cover everything, and we do try to do that. I think at some point we got to bring in a guest to talk about this. Eventually, we're going to have our pal Chris Cooper in. Chris Cooper's book is coming out, Better Living Through Birding, which is notes from a Black man in the natural world. I just received my copy. I'm looking forward to reading it. Chris, of course, co-hosts here on occasion when it's not birding season.
Oh, he's wonderful. And if you want to read a really in-depth interview with Chris, I did a wonderful cover story with him for Queer 40, not long after the infamous Central Park incident. And he's really a fabulous interview and a fabulous person.
Yes,
so
Merryn,
please do. Yeah.
You are the editor or editor-in-chief of queer40.com.
Yes.
And if you will send me a link to that story via email, I will include it in our email to send to everybody on our list. And if you
All
want to
right.
be on our list, you can go to gayusatv.org. And if you want to prop us up through this difficult period, there's also a chance to make a donation to Gay USA on our homepage. And so many of you do on a regular basis. And it's so encouraging. And it's what keeps us going through this terrible time.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it.
We still have a minute. Again, you saw that mixed in there is a lot of good news. There are governors standing up for us. There are states passing pro-LGBTQ laws, etc. Re-electing a lesbian mayor in Tampa, Florida, etc.
Yeah.
So it's such a mix of it. I mean, and I meant that about Little Rock. There are wonderful people there in Arkansas. Who do
And I meant that about Florida too. I'm thinking of my friends in Key West where the drag queens go out on the street and have a cigarette. I don't ever want that to end. I want them to be free to roam.
Right. We definitely do have to do that. So I'll be in the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York on Friday, marching. We spent 25 years protesting, so I feel like I have to go out there and march on Fifth Avenue. We won that right, and we'll be out there on Fifth Avenue. And happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Indeed.
And do take care. Hi, Merryn.